Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu.
Welcome to Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, episode 94. I am your co-host and co-creator, Wheelchair 21. After a week hiatus, we're coming back. This episode is going to just be covering some of the news that's happened as of late, as well as a little kind of open forum discussion that we're going to have in regards to when we're burned out on Tokusatsu, whether it is the weekly airing shows, whether it's been past or present, or if we're burnt out on Tokusatsu in general, and we just have to step away from what we love and find another hobby that also interests us before our spark is reignited and we go back to watching our people in spandex and rubber suits fighting one another. Anyways, joining me tonight is one of my infallible co-hosts, Sound Out Frickin' 12.
I think he's dead to wheels.
Yeah, Sound Out 12 is dead. So joining us is...
So what happened to me was that I pressed mute like 5 times, and Skype decided, no, we're just gonna stay on mute.
So, anyways, joining us is Janitor Joker as well, the other infallible, actually he is the fallible member of the...
I am the fallible. I am the phallic object.
No, the phallic object comes next. His name is Visible Ninja.
Oh, right.
Am straight. Registered trademark.
Yeah, 4 out of the original 5 members are here tonight. Project might step in later, but we do have a 5th man joining us for the first time tonight. He is technically one of our graphic designers at Hero Club, as well as our graphic designer helping us with our individual YouTube channels. He is Ryan Darklaw643, but we'll just be calling him Darklaw or just specifically Ryan. So welcome to the show, Ryan.
Great to be here.
And enjoy it being your last time here.
Probably, who knows?
Well, seeing that we record so late, it all depends on what days he is able to show up and what days we're able to do it. Because honestly, we do pre-schedule our stuff, and sometimes it doesn't meet everyone's expectations or what they've seen.
I'm just happens to be here, and since Project is MIA, I'm just here to pretty much be his replacement. AK, when he comes back, I'll probably be back on the bus then.
Well, we don't immediately kick people. Usually we at least have that maximum or minimum of 5. It really depends, since we've thrown Alex to the wolves a few times, right?
To be fair, Wheels, you can't really kick anybody.
Well, yeah, I can't literally kick people or physically kick. Alright, so let's start off with our news. As expected, we're going to be talking about the Ultra Galaxy Fight New Generation Heroes second official trailer. Now, this official trailer on Subaraya was provided in 2 different formats. One with the original Japanese version, and actually I think it has closed captions in English now, as well as the English dubbed trailer. In this new trailer, we have more images that showcase our Ultramen in their actual final forms, specifically even movie forms, as well as the fact we're getting the Malaysian/Indonesian character from the hit cartoon Upe and Ipen, Ultraman Ribbit, getting his official, actual on-screen debut in an actual fight scene rather than being promotional lineup, cinematography, stuff like that. He's actually going to be premiering in this thing that, at the time of this airing, has already started airing, I think, on their YouTube channel, because we're recording this about, I want to say, a couple of days before the premiere itself. So, yeah, he's there. He's going to be here. And I don't know to what dexterity he's going to be for this miniseries. Is he going to be in all of the episodes? Is he going to be in some of the episodes? I don't really know. But it just tacks on more characters either debuting or premiering within this actual online event, because we have Ultra Dark Killer. We also have the Ultraman Gi Darkness and Ultraman X Darkness. So they're jam-packing a lot of stuff in there and reviving a lot of villains that technically aren't around at this time. So it's going to be interesting to see where this all goes, especially as being a prelude to the current Taiga show, since Tri-Gear is shown as to be like the weird shadowed out villain of this special. So that's what we got right now. And I guess the cast information is going to be released soon, since there's new information just coming out at this time, like over the course of the past day or so, but none of it reveals who's actually providing the English dub. So we're unsure if it's still the William Winkler team or if it's going to be an actual team out of Southeast Asia dubbing it. So we're going to talk about actually that dub and the trailer at hand. So I'll go to our guest at this time. Ryan, what do you think on the Ultra Galaxy Fight New Generation Heroes second official trailer, dubbed and subbed?
I'm really excited for it. I'm always a big fan of the Ultra specials where it's like Ultra Zero Fight or It looks interesting, though the dub is not that good, at least from these trailers. I can't tell if, it's like a LA recorded base dub like the William Waker dubs, or it's a Malaysian dub. because I think it was like Orb's part of the trailer. The voice sounds similar to the voice actor Patrick Seitz, which is a big anime dub actor. But again, it could be just actors similar to his tone. But that trailer did not show the best of that dub. So that's what makes me lean to more Malaysian dub, especially since Ultraman Ribbit is a Malaysian Ultraman. I won't be surprised that since he's in this, it's a Malaysian dub. So that's my thoughts on it.
Alright, I'm gonna go over to Janitor Joker quickly to see if he's seen the trailer at all, just to know if we need to do a pass or whatnot.
I haven't seen the trailer yet, but this sounds interesting. You piqued my interest, Wheels. You piqued my interest, because it's always cool to get more Ultraman stuff, you know?
Alright, then I'll go over to Visible Ninja for his take.
The English dub isn't the worst I've heard. It definitely does sound like the Winkler dub, but hey, who knows for sure. Ultra English dubs, always have that weird, like, Malaysian English dub quality to them. Like, you understand the words, but something's just kind of off about it.
How is this the funniest way to put it? You understand the words, but you kinda don't also.
Yeah.
It's just voices making noises that you just kinda understand. It's like talking to your cat.
It's mostly probably the poor acting.
Yeah, Malaysian English dubs don't exactly have the best reputation. Like, even going all the way back to the G1 Japanese Transformers with the infamous Headmasters dub. Either way, though, the trailer actually does look pretty cool, and it is kind of cool to see Reboot, however you're supposed to pronounce it, actually getting an actual fight scene. Since until now, he's either just been, like, promotional material, like, just, like, suit appearances and stuff, or he's been CG in the show that he originated in. So, it'll be kind of cool to actually see him getting some proper fights. So, yeah, pretty cool. Looking forward to it.
Alright, Sound Out, your hot take on this whole mess.
So, let's see. First of all, I think the Ultra Fight series itself looks fun and cool. I'll plan to watch it. It should be fun. And then there's the dub, which I think I'll just quote my mother when she watched the trailer and said, "Wow, this sounds like bootleg Power Rangers." That's it.
Wow, that's saying a lot. So, is she trying to say that this is the Mystic Knights of Tyranna?
She probably would take Mystic Knights of Tyrannoc over this dub.
Holy shit.
Cause like, I remember when the trailer started and like the first couple lines came out, she was just like, oh no.
The fire within me is shocked.
And may I remind you, my mother prefers to watch dubbed anime over subbed anime. Which isn't a bad thing at all. But it's like, even then, it's like, here's my thing. My mother is very casual in watching a lot of stuff too. But it's like, when she's saying, wow, this dub is bad, it's really bad.
I have to see it now.
Yeah, no, my take on that was the fact that, like, when Gregio first spoke, she has, like, the old school hentai dub voice. Like, it just sounds like it's some chick pretending to voice act. Like, she sounds like...
Bible Black?
I would say...
No, don't insult Bible Black like that. That's high art.
The best way I could explain it is if you've ever seen the actual hentais that got Jenna Hayes as one of the dub actresses. So it was like really weird. It almost sounds like a fan dub in that level of dexterity when you hear Gregio, like her voice actress. And she might actually be a big time voice actress in Malaysia, but how it comes out here, it doesn't sound very professional. It sounds very cheap. I think like, yeah, like there was like this one take in the line where it was like, oh my god, he took our light energy. Oh no, he copied my Mon's armor. I'm like, and that felt more Malaysian than the William Winkler, because William Winkler's takes I've heard of like some of the clippets, while they don't sound perfectly good, they at least still sound like real conjoint English sentences or natural translations that don't sound, should I say, like poor Malaysian subtitle releases. And when I mean subtitle releases, I mean like ones where they think I'll deal with the boy translates to I will settle the boy. Sounds like you're reading those Hong Kong level like translations and then putting them to words, because that's the problem I have with this dub. Like the overall action looks great, and the one thing that Sound Out and I both pointed out, like I said to him, and then he went and double checked it, and it was true, that Ultraman Groove from the Rube movie is fully using his suit in this special, whereas in the movie he was overlaid by CG throughout the entire
thing.
I think the only time we saw the suit was when he ultra-lived, I think.
Yeah, I think that was about it, because the rest of the time was the suit.
Yeah, so I personally think that this special is going to have some really good fights. I just think that the dub is going to be bad, and I hope they still provide English closed captions, because if they think that everyone just wants to watch it dubbed, that's a high mistake. Like, if they were going to say...
I think we're still going to get captions, and that's just coming from the fact that we have the Blu-rays loudly proclaiming Japanese with English subtitles.
Yeah, so, like, that's the thing, because I'm like, if they were really gonna get an actual English dub, they could have at least gone a little bit Netflixian by trying to get actual people, because the thing is, I don't hate the William Winkler guys, because, like, the William Winkler guys are actual American voice actors, like, they're just starting, and they're run by a guy who did work with, like, the guys who did, like, early ADB dubs for, like, Tekka Men. So, like, the guy at least knows how to do dubbing. I just think it's because he's doing a bare-bones studio production. They're not bigger names just yet. Alright, so let's go to our next topic of discussion since we've gone on long enough about this dang dub. So we got to talk about freaking Battle for the Grid Season 2. Yeah, we're getting a Season 2 pass for this awesome PlayStation fighting game. Well, not PlayStation, it's on Nintendo Switch, it's on Xbox, it's on Steam. You can pretty much play it on most of the consoles.
The little fighting game that could.
Yeah, the little fighting game that could. And interestingly enough, the new Season Pass is actually pretty stellar. It has quite a few things fans already thought were coming to the game, as well as a few new things that people didn't think were either possible or didn't think it was coming this early. So first off, we get the Shadow Ranger Anubis Dougie Kruger, which has been talked about coming to the game. We also have Quantum Ranger Eric Myers from Time Force, Daishi/Jared from Jungle Fury, and a new character skin for the Green Ranger known as the Mighty Morphin White character skin, which will lead to a lot of hilarity soon. We also have the new Ultra, the Delta Squad Megazord, and the new Arena Space Patrol Delta Base, and this is actually going to be sold for $14.99 for the entire season pass. However, each fighter can be bought separately for $6 a piece practically. And right now, if I recall, they're actually going to be releasing Shadow Ranger either today at the time of this recording, or he's already live now. So they're going to release a character monthly. So at the time when this airs, Eric's scheduled for October, Daishi's scheduled for November, and I don't know how they're releasing the White Ranger skin. I guess he's just going to...
White Ranger skin's supposed to be coming with Shadow Ranger, but I haven't gotten any confirmation on that, because at the time of this recording, Shadow Ranger and the skin haven't made it to consoles, just to PC, and no one's talking about the PC one. The other thing to note is that the new Ultra and the new stage, the Delta Squad Megazord and the S.P.D. base, are free DLC included with the 1.5 patch, which is nice because that gives a couple things to people that aren't buying the Season 2 pass, but just kind of a neat little bonus.
And we already assumed that the Delta Squad Megazord was coming as an Ultra, seeing that it's seen in the background of one of the maps, which was, what, Corinth?
Yeah, Corinth.
Yeah, the Battle of Corinth.
So, yeah, we got that. So I'm going to go to Ryan first. What's his thoughts on the new pack? And once we do our roundtable discussion of what we think about the new season pass, we'll talk about how long do we think the game's going to keep going.
I'm so excited because, like, Battle for the Grid is, honestly, I think is a really great indie fighting game, and that's what it is, because, like, even though it's Hasbro, Power Rangers, Lionsgate, technically, published a game, it's technically an indie game, especially compared to, like, Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, or even BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. It's a great fighting game that I think a lot of people can get into, because, like, there is that competitive edge to it, but it is a very simple fighting game to get into. I really like that, because we all knew Shadow Ranger was going to come because he had a unique 3D render in the story mode alongside Lauren, which I'm surprised she's not in this pack. But I think Eric and Daishi was definitely a surprise, especially Eric, because Daishi was already in Legacy Wars. So seeing Eric was great. Right now, Endwave has definitely improved the game so much, because you play the game right now with the new updates. They have given the game a great graphical boost, whereas, like, everything looks much more crisp in HD, and, like, everybody has, like, shiny helmets. Like, my favorite thing is the voice audio balancing is 6 now, because before, some characters have really loud audio, some have really quiet audio, and here they 6, everybody's audio is equal. And for only seeing Shadow Ranger, gameplay looks great, and I'm just happy they kept Kyle Aber as Dougie Kruger in the game, because for some reason, Jen, in the story mode, she's voiced by Carrie Guerin, sorry if I mispronounced her name, who voiced Sasuke in Kill la Kill and stuff like that. She voiced Jen in the story mode, but in the game, she's voiced by a different actress, and it's really bad. So I'm just glad Kyle Aber stays as Kruger, because he's a really good voice for Kruger.
Alright, Visible Ninja, your thoughts on the game?
Oh boy, yeah, Shadow Ranger was not really a big surprise, since we kind of had a feeling he was coming. Surprised that Lauren isn't coming in season 2, so she's probably waiting for season 3, along with Rita, apparently. But hey, getting the Quantum Ranger, ain't nothing wrong with that. And yeah, Dai Shi from Jungle Fury. Big surprise to me. Definitely looking forward to using some of that Zakato power. But no, seriously, he's awesome. And yeah, all the other little changes, like a couple, like some new balance changes. They added a couple things. Yeah, the graphics definitely look a lot nicer now. Adding the Delta Squad Megazord, I keep wanting to call it the S.P.D. Megazord, and the S.P.D. Training Ground stage as totally free are pretty awesome. And yeah, White Ranger skin. Hey, why not? I'm not arguing. So yeah, so far it's looking pretty dang good, and I've already slapped down my cashola for the PS4 version, so I'm just waiting for Shadow Ranger to unlock, and I'm ready to go to town with Doggy.
Alright, Sound Out, your take on the season pass?
So to begin my take, I shall have a word-for-word reading of the patch notes. See, as we have Jason Lee Scott, neutral parry, counter frames reduced. We have Tommy Oliver, nothing. I'm kidding, I'm not actually going to do this. But talking from a fighting game perspective, I think that not only are the character choices good for continuing that variety of power sets that Inoue has really focused on with Battle for the Grid, having another stage is wonderful because I felt like we were kind of running out of places to fight. Having another Megazord is great, especially the Delta Squad, as it kind of brings in a new mechanic to the game, whereas the other 3 Megazords, they just kind of slam around and throw stuff down. The Delta Squad has like one or two slam attacks that work differently, but it also incorporates the S.P.D. Rangers' judgment system, allowing for a randomized effect that if it lands on the guilty, it will attack the opponent with fireballs, but if it lands on the innocent, it'll actually heal your current ranger, which I found to actually be a game-changing move, because I was able to win a couple matches online earlier, because my general run of the match was I was losing a lot of health, and suddenly I randomized some pretty great stuff from the judgment system, so I was able to win. I like a lot of not only graphical upgrades, but also a lot of the character tweaks. They didn't do anything to MMPR Green, which is fine, since I think he was good as is. They upgraded Ranger Slayer's finisher, so it's much easier to land now. Kat Manx went from kind of what I thought was a low-tier character to a high-tier, because they've completely reworked her entire, moveset, which is really fascinating. But now she really is, causing a lot of damage out there. And they've really tweaked the Mastodon Sentry as well to actually give him an extra mine ability, because normally you just throw the mine and go right in front of him. You couldn't really surprise opponents with it because it was a little obvious. But now there is the option to hold the button, and you can toss the mine across the screen. And not only that, it doesn't have to be on the ground to activate. You can toss it and whack somebody in the head from across the screen, and they can't see it coming. It's the same animation. So that's kind of a nice little mind games kind of thing. And the hitbox for his counter super actually is a little bit wider now, so it does kind of catch better, which is good because that was one of the hardest ones to pull off. Bunch of tweaks happened to Zed, kind of made him a little bit more balanced. He was really overwhelmingly powerful when he first launched. That's kind of like a general thing. But one of the interesting things I want to point out in the patch notes was not necessarily anything about the game itself, but they list out characters like Kat Manx, Ranger Slayer, Magna Defender, Goldar, right? But then, for some reason, Tommy Oliver, MMPR Green, Jason Lee Scott, MMPR Green, makes sense because there's another Tommy in the game as Lord Draken. There's also skins for both of those. But why is it that Gia Moran is listed as S21 Yellow, not Super Megaforce or SMF or SM or anything like that? So it's like Season 21 Yellow, but there's no reason to be designating that Gia here would be the Super Megaforce version unless there's plans for a skin of some sort or something along those lines. So I don't know what's going on there, but adding that to the longevity of the game discussion later.
How would that work? Because, unlike, let's say, Green Ranger and White Ranger, where they're kind of similar movesets, Gia in Battle for the Grid is very heavy based on the Gokai saber and gun thing. How can you...
It'll be super, probably, Megaforce, because she has the sword, baton, candy popper, saber, and the little header gun. That's the only way they'll be able to retcon it, I think, Ryan, by using the super modes.
I think it's something that we'll see when the White Ranger skin just drop, which I've checked and it doesn't look like it's dropped yet. It's coming soon. Because I'm almost wondering if the White Ranger skin is going to pull kind of an Injustice move Whereas Injustice had skins, like for example, there was a skin for Captain Cold that made him into Mr. Freeze and completely changed all of his voice dialogues, and a lot of animation changes happened. So it's like technically it wasn't a new character, it's just a skin that made a new character. So I'm almost wondering if something extensive could happen with this White Ranger to the point of changing the super, since the Dragon Zord is just a cinematic. It could be easy to swap out. So we'll see if something actually happens there to change the super, because otherwise you'd be having Tommy using Saba as a flute to summon the Dragon Zord, which would make no sense. So we'll see what happens, but it could be entirely possible an upcoming skin.
Awesome.
It does, but we'll see what happens. I'm really kind of curious about that, because a lot of the skins so far have been very similar, except for the fact that previously the Mighty Morphin Pink skin for Ranger Slayer didn't change any dialogue when it was first released. And then it's mostly because Ranger Slayer's dialogue seemed to fit Mighty Morphin Pink really well. But now they've made it so that Mighty Morphin Pink and Ranger Slayer have distinctive voice tracks. So that almost says to me, maybe we're working our way up to having a Megaforce Gia skin to do that. So we'll see.
Yeah, so Mucha, before I give my takes, have you been playing the game or no?
I've been keeping up with the game. I haven't played it though, because
Alright,
I am a poor little man who doesn't buy anything.
Alright, so I can give my take, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright,
But everything
so-
sounds interesting, is what I'm saying.
So, with this expansion, I'm glad that we're getting more characters. We knew there were more characters coming. We knew that the season passes moving forward, might have more characters in them per se, but however, they're keeping it very small as they're going. So we have 3 new ones, and we have a character skin. With Kruger, that's good. We already knew he was in the game, as found out, and I think everyone else stated that some of these guys are already in Legacy War, so it makes sense to move, like, animation models over. I think the brand new one
Real quick side
was
note.
Patranger. Yeah.
There was something we didn't mention. Kruger actually leaked like 3 days prior to the announcement because there was a Steam screenshot.
Well, yeah, that too, but we also...
So that was
have
like
the fact-
already on top of that. It's like, oh yeah, Kruger's in the game.
Yeah, so we got Quantum Ranger, we got Daishi, we got some good stuff here, which is great. What I like about it is that they are adding in more people that are either pivotal to the story mode, or just people that they're moving over from Legacy War that are fan-like designs or fan-like characters. So, like, we will get actually Shinken Red or Samurai Red Lauren. We're gonna get the female one later, so we don't really need to fret right now. Right now, we need to talk about, like how Sound had said, how they're going to pull off White Ranger. Looking at the moveset, it does look pretty similar to Green Ranger, but since I don't know the Injustice system too well, what I'm guessing is how they worked with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the other guys was like, some moves would have the same animation models, but then others wouldn't. So what I'm guessing
That's
is
correct,
maybe they might actually alter it up in general.
Because with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because Injustice had an extensive gear system, so basically you change the weapon and it would change some of the supers. Like, so for example, like Leonardo would have a lot of moves where the other turtles would come in to help him, whereas Michelangelo had an entire moveset based on his skateboard.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, is that, like, while the base moves of White Ranger look to be the same of Green, the thing that they really do need to change is, like Sound says, is the super, if anything and at all, because that's the only thing that would be out of touch, out of whack. But overall, I'm liking a lot of these new updates. It's just only, like, kind of sad, like we've been stating, is that, like, they did have to rush this game out into production. Because now all of these updates are happening that are sprucing up the game. You have these other season pack characters coming out. And it's making the game feel a lot more fresh and more like an actual fighting game, like it was meant to be. But because it was coming near the arrival of Mortal Kombat 11, it just screwed everything up. Like I found out, me and Invisible Ninja talked, I think, on this episode, on Ninja Talks Live. Mortal Kombat, I think, was the key monkey wrench as to why this game had such a really wishy-washy launch outside of the basic Ranger fandom, I believe. So with that, we've all given our talk about just the game season pass and stuff. Let's talk, though, about the actual longevity, because like some fighting games, they can last for a couple of years before a sequel is announced. We've seen it before with other fighting games where they'll be like, oh, here's Street Fighter, here's Mortal Kombat, here's Injustice. We're going to keep adding character packs for like the next year, the next 2 years, the next 3 years. In the case of like Dead or Alive, which is a 2.5 free roam fighter where they give you more clothing attires. They don't really change the game too much, but they try to give life into usually a game that either doesn't stay around too long or stays around for a good definitive amount of time. So we're going to, like, give our thoughts on how do you think they're going to go? How many season passes more do you think they can milk out of Power Rangers before they go, we got to do a sequel to Battle of the Grid? Like, how many things are going to happen?
From my experience for other fighting games, like, for one, like, I don't think we'll get a sequel for Battle of the Grid into, like, at most 2 seasons of Hasbro Power Rangers because, like, I don't see a reason because, like, Battle for the Grid was heavily based on Shattered Grid, and unless there's, like, another big comic event for Boom, I don't see them doing another sequel game into, like, there's another big, like, comic story unless they want to make their own story mode, but, like, seeing how, like, Blaze with Cross Tag Battle is, like, about, like, a year old, and that has, like, a bunch of season passes, well, 2 major season passes, and they just got new characters announced this week. I won't be surprised this game lasts for a while because you can just keep adding to this game because it helps that Enway has the models, the basic skeleton models already from Legacy Wars. And all they need to do is spruce them up and, like, create a moveset for them. And shows that Enway really wants to make this game bigger and bigger. And, like, seeing how, like, there's a bunch of fighting game people talking about this game and actually enjoying it, it really does show that there is longevity for this game. And most of the people talking about the game are actually not huge into Power Rangers like us. So it's nice to see that. So I think the game will last a while. I won't think we'll expect a sequel into, like, down the line, like, around, like, year 4 at most, Hasbro, when there's, like, enough material to, like, make another, like, story mode, because, like, even before the story mode came out, it was heavily based on Shattered Grid, so I won't be surprised when our next game comes out, it would be based on that big storyline that has come up over the years.
Alright, Metal, what's your take on the longevity of Battle for the Grid?
Honestly, so far, it's been doing a pretty damn good job. I mean, it hasn't been out in a complete form, I should specify, for terribly long, and it's already got a pretty healthy amount of new characters, plus some free updates, as well as, you know, some skins and such, so... And it's really boding pretty well because the guys at Enway there, like, they really seem like they're paying attention and trying to balance it and make it into a really fun, easy to pick up, hard to master kind of fighting game, which are always, you know, the best. And yeah, new characters, new stages every quarter or so, basically. I think it is really going to be favorable because so far the game's seeming like it's doing pretty good, and the PC version's out now, so that's only going to help stuff, not to mention make modding a bit easier whenever that starts happening. But I think the future looks pretty good.
So this game didn't launch too hot, and we're going to, like, no way dodging around it. It definitely wasn't complete, and it got rushed out by its publisher. That being said, unlike other games that have had this, Street Fighter V, they've actually really turned things around. In the few short months since the game released, which was back in April, this is now September, so we're talking 5 months, the roster's doubled, which is insane. We've gotten extra stages, which extra stages are a thing that's very underrated in fighting games, because, like, a lot of games don't usually add stages. Like Injustice, pretty much, you get the base stages in the base game, you get nothing else. Tekken started to add more stages with its DLC, mostly for its crossover characters, and, like, Street Fighter has made an entire business out of selling stages for $2 a piece, but that's a different discussion. So, the thing I've noticed with this game is that they've doubled the roster, they've improved it, they just keep working on it. It's like the game kind of works like Disneyland. It's never truly finished. They're just going to keep working on it and trying to make it as best as they can. And honestly, the business model here is similar to Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V, coming from Capcom, Capcom's very infamous for doing Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Hyper Fighting, Champion Edition, Super Street Fighter 2, etc., from the past when DLC wasn't an option. So when they set out to do Street Fighter V, the idea they had was, well, what if we just make Street Fighter V and then just add to it consistently? So they launched with 16 characters, and over the course of 3 years, they've added 21 additional characters to make it a roster of 37. So, or 38, because I forgot about Kage. It's 38 characters in Street Fighter V in 3 years. So that's a $60 game that was unfinished, and you had to buy a lot of DLC for it. I know I've put a bunch of money into the game, but I've been waiting for season passes on sale, since it's usually about $30 for 6 characters, which I always thought was a little high. So you kind of like that going on. So when you look at Battle for the Grid, it's like it's $20 to start, $15 for season 1, 15 more bucks for season 2. So you're looking at a $50 game with 18 characters, and considering fighting game prices of stuff, this is actually pretty good. Not to mention the fact that the prices can be split up amongst it, different time frames. Like if you put the 40 up front for the deluxe edition, then adding 15 later. So you got a lot of, like, you know, the pricing is pretty good, and the fact that the game continues to get better with free updates is really good too. A lot of fighting games will end up in the trap of, once the DLC starts, it's paid DLC. Free DLC pretty much doesn't happen after that. It's like they might do some free DLC to start, but after the paid starts, it's all paid. So the fact that Enway is not only giving us paid DLC for new fighters, they're also giving us free DLC as well, which I think is wonderful because it helps expand and grow the game. Plus, they added a new mode that actually puts kind of an event structure onto Ranked Match where you can earn special prizes for different banners. And honestly, that's something that's like really cool to see because that's going to keep people playing beyond just, oh, look, a new character launched, let me play for the next couple days, and then it just drops off. So they're doing kind of more of that stuff to keep the player base going, which I think is great. In terms of longevity, with these season passes being as small enough as 3 characters each, when the typical fighting game season pass is 6 characters, this kind of leads me to believe that there's going to be a lot more of these, because there's nothing really to improve with the game itself that doesn't come through patches. Usual fighting game sequels will come about when it's like, oh, we need to overhaul the entire system of the game to upgrade it. For example, the jump from Street Fighter 4 to 5 was across a console generation. So I think that kind of thing is, they didn't really feel like upgrading until then. They just kept putting out new versions of Street Fighter 4. Arc System Works kind of does the same thing. You don't get a whole full over-ramped kind of thing. They do less DLC and more, here's a new version of the game. With BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, they've basically doubled their roster as well in DLC, and it's been very reasonably priced. So I think they're going for that business model. A lot of people expected BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle to be finished once its first season pass content was done, but then they surprised out of nowhere were like, here's version 2.0, new season pass, 9 new characters, new features. Tekken 7 was thought to be done with its second season pass, but there's a third season pass that gave new move to all the characters. So I think in nowadays, you're going to see less with fighting games of the let's put out a new sequel every year, and more so, let's just pump out DLC, put out updates, keep the game fresh and moving without having people to have to reinvest into a brand new game if we don't need to do it. Like if we're going to overhaul the system, like from Injustice 1 to 2, console generation jump plus the fact they added the whole gear system, totally makes sense, but they still did 9 DLC fighters for Injustice 2, which is longer than before. Mortal Kombat, same thing. But I have to applaud Power Rangers. They put out more characters since launching than Mortal Kombat has. Mortal Kombat's added 2 characters in the time that Power Rangers has added 9, which is really impressive because this kind of rollout doesn't happen with bigger publishers even. Bandai Namco and Arc System Works for Dragon Ball FighterZ have had a 6-fighter season pass this year, and we're about to get our 5th character, and the first character was released back in February. So the fact we got Trey and Jen on a single day, and then we got Zed just about a month or 2 later, and then now that we're getting the current season passes 1 per month, this is really impressive, and I'm really hoping that there's a large future for this game because it does seem like this is something they can continually update and put out more character passes for in the future.
Yeah, no, you summed up a pretty good analogy on what I was going to say. It's just like, as I stated when we led into the longevity, I did state it had a really weak beginning. Because, like, while it did have, like, I think that subservient standard of, like, having, what was it, like, 9 or 12 is usually, like, sometimes, like, what old vintage fighting games would have as a roster. The way that the fighting game community has changed is, like, you need to have 12 to 18 to be, like, more seen as, like, that big legitimacy. But this is an indie game, so 12 is still your nice standard. But when it launched, it was like, well, 3 of the characters we can't launch yet, but we'll do it later. And they weren't even a part of the patch, if I remember, which was the Cenozoic Blue, the Yellow Ranger in Black Dragon armor, and the
Udana.
Mystic Force White. Udana, right? So that was kind of like one of the nips in the butt, was like, oh, we have to launch it now, so these 3 characters, we're just going to add them in later. Even though
and they were free at least. They could have switched them to paid DLC and been dicks about it.
Yeah, they could have been dicks about it. But they were like, no, we did say you guys were originally going to get 9 or 12, which did have the fandom in a bit of a tizzy. So I like that they did do that. That was good when they finally dropped those characters, because I had more fun once those characters came out for the game than I did with the base 9. I think it's just because I like to main the Black Dragon or Udana, like, in intervals. Like, it depends on how I construct my team. But that's the thing, is that, like, I had more fun when we got the full original base roster. When we got the add-ons, like with Jen, when we got Trey, when we got Zed, it also added more fun to the game. So what I'm seeing is that as they're doing these season passes, doing 1 a month is still pretty nice, it's still pretty good, and it's a pretty solid deal of like 15 for 3 plus possible character skin or other stuff that might be free and or included. When with the purchase, it doesn't really matter right now because they could change up their format as we go further. What I like is that because we're using a lot of the Legacy War molds, they can just bring them over, give them a fighting style, and boom, you can add them to the game. We could have a huger roster by the time this ends. With Enway, I do feel like we're going to have like quite a few more season passes. Like Soundout said, we're going to probably have a couple of more. I think it all decides on when Hasbro says, up, enough's enough, I want you to start and make a new game. or when Enway goes, just for this one game alone, we can't keep adding to it. We're gonna have to go big or go home now because we've now earned like some kind of notoriety in the actual fighting game community. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? This is like one of their big first real ones that are gonna start getting them recognition. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know how far it can go. Like Ryan says, or maybe they're just going to wait till a bigger thing happens in the comics to make a sequel with. But I also feel like you could just keep adding to the story because look at Necessary Evil. It's like, oh, what's going on here? We have the Omega Rangers. Like we might get a sequel to the Shattered Grid storyline that follows the Omega Rangers whenever they go, oh, we're going to add them to the game. Because I feel like the Omega Rangers are going to be like a season pass event thing for Battle for the Grid. Or they might end up going, hey, remember how we gave you the story for free? Yeah, we're going to give you Omega Ranger characters and an Omega Ranger story for free. That's all you're getting for free, but we're going to still have season passes. Like, they'll have, like, season pass for Dane. They'll have, like, season pass for Lauren. They'll have season pass for any other thing they can probably think of, like maybe the Solar Rangers. But they're going to be like, we'll give you the Omega Rangers and the current storyline in the comics for free. But Beyond the Grid, anything like that, no, you got to pay for that. Which I'm fine with, because I'd rather have the Omega Rangers for free than them giving me the Beyond the Grid for free. Just saying.
Quick interjection. Do you think they could do all 4 Omega Rangers with one character with 3 skins?
I feel like they should do 2 Omega Rangers with 2 skins apiece, one for yellow, one for blue, one for red, one for black, and they share the mold. Because when you have 2 men, 2 girls, there you go. Because you can't do all 4 on the same mold because one's a female body.
This is true.
So I think, like, this game could carry on for maybe, 4 years maximum? 5?
Honestly, this day and age, I thought that the cycle for a fighting game was 2 years, but here we are at Street Fighter 5 and Tekken 7, both coming up at 3. Like, Street Fighter 5 is already past 3 years, going into 4. Presuming that they're going to do another season pass, they might be doing a Street Fighter 6, we don't know yet. But Tekken 7 is like, oh look, we're successful, let's just keep putting out season passes. And their season passes aren't just characters, they're also including new mode coming in the next season pass, which is going to expand things. The last one they did that with season pass 1, they added Ultimate Tekken Bowl, which is a fully fledged bowling game that is also a part of Tekken. It's insane. Like, the possibilities, I think, for fighting games have opened up a lot to the point where if the base mechanics are there, they can tweak things. With Tekken, they were able to add entire new movesets for characters. And then on top of that, they can just keep adding characters now. They don't necessarily need to make a sequel unless they're going to completely revamp the game.
Seeing how the next console generation is slowly coming up to us, I expect maybe at most like a big HD port to the next console, like let's say like Battle for the Grid Complete Edition, if they ever like stop making season passes for the game.
Yeah, I see exactly where you're going with this, Ryan. Because I was going to also say, if they ever decide to make a new mode or make a sequel game, I would also like a Megazord Fighting Edition kind of thing in the game as well as a Megazord mode, just because I really did love playing the original Megazord fighting game as a kid. And I know Soundout hated the final boss mode, but it was still a fun game.
But it was fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love to see an actual Megazord mode with like giant monsters and Megazords clashing each other. But overall, we do think that this game can carry on at least for a minimum of 3 to 5. So here's hoping that it can keep up with that, I guess, our hypothesis, our hopes. And anyways, let's go to our main closing discussion of our episode for this week, where we're gonna, like I said in the intro, talk about what have you done when you've been burnt out on either the current airing weeklies or just Tokusatsu in general. Now, I say the current weeklies because there's been a time in a good portion of our lives, like myself and Soundout and Mooch, where we just couldn't keep up with watching it week to week. Where we had to either wait till it was done, or we didn't watch that specific season until years later. So that's the idea of this discussion. It's just, what do you do when you don't want to watch it weekly, or you just don't want to watch it at all? So I'm actually going to go to Visible Ninja first rather than going to Ryan this time. So Visible Ninja, what have you done when the shows of the week or just Tokusatsu in general just don't tickle that fancy for you?
What I do, honestly, I just let them kind of stack up a little bit. I might go watch something else, I don't know, maybe like a British series, or just kind of relax a little bit. I usually don't let it build up too long, usually only maybe 3 weeks worth. But that's only occasionally. Lately, I've been pretty good keeping up with the weeklies. But yeah, I just go indulge in something else I like some comedy series, Canadian, British, whatever. As well as just watch some other stuff, I don't know, maybe some Star Trek or some Xena or something. You know what I mean? Just something just to kind of let my brain just kind of reset and get ready for some more rubber suit action.
That's fine, that's fine. So, Ryan, since you got a little bit of the gist of it, what do you do when the weeklies or just Tokusatsu in general got you down and you got to go watch something else that you're interested in? Like, what do you do to rekindle that love?
My relationship with Tokusatsu, especially with the weeklies, is very on-off. Especially with Sentai recently. So, like, I didn't fully weekly watching Rider into want to say Gaim. But the thing is, with me with Tokusatsu, it's like I have a hard time watching both two shows at the same time from, like, let's say, like, Tokuger Gaim, like, every week. So I had to drop Tokuger. I did went back and watch it, but I had to drop Tokuger around the Rainbow Line. So I was watching all Gaim. I watched all Drive and tried to watch Ninja 2. I drop it after Line Haho. Nowadays, like, I have a really big problem trying to keep up with Toku, especially because I work at home and I work in assembly. And so I'm focused on assembling, like, circuit boards and stuff like that. And the problem with Tokusatsu is I can't really have that in the background while I'm working because I can't read the subtitles. So I try to always make sure that every week I try to make sure I catch up with certain shows if I'm really invested in it. With Toku, I have a hard time marathoning a lot because Toku is a repetitive thing, especially with Sentai and stuff like that. And not just because it's a bad thing, just like I can't binge a lot of it. I have a more easier time binging cartoon stuff than I do Tokusatsu. So sometimes I'll go like, I know I should finish this Toku series, but let me go rewatch Ben 10 again because I have a more easier time watching those shows than I do Tokusatsu. But it's like, it's one of the things that I really want to get better at because it's not because I don't like the shows. It's just my schedule works. It's just like, I need to find time to watch the weekly Toku stuff.
Alright then. So Joker, what do you do when you're burned out on Tokusatsu?
Well, first I find my victims online using probably Tinder, maybe eHarmony. And then I go on my killing spree and, well, hide the bodies, as you know, Wheels.
You're too honest.
Oh,
No,
shit.
remember that time where I thought he was the one being bodied? Because, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
like 8 bodies that were found in that guy's farm.
Oh, yeah. That was not me that time. That was another murderous person in the same area. But not me. Certainly not me. But what do I do when the weeklies just aren't doing it? That actually happened sometime. A couple years ago, Kamen Rider Build, perhaps a show that you've heard of, perhaps a show that we reviewed on a previous episode of this Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, where we talked about how Evolt sucks and shit. But whatever. This isn't the episode. This is about now. This is the present. And that happened to me. Build wasn't really jiving with me. The show felt too clean, is, I guess, the nice way to put it. Nothing felt like there was at stake, and all the action scenes were kind of dull and boring to watch. So I thought to myself, okay, what can I do in this situation? Well, that situation involved watching another show. That show being a show that I've always been kind of on the fence about, wondering what I felt about it, how do I feel about it, do I like it, do I hate it? That show was Kamen Rider Faiz. And so, I went on a journey to rewatch Kamen Rider Faiz, everybody's favorite drama-filled Kamen Rider show, dealing with cell phones, and dead people, and drama, and drama, and drama, and oh, sorry.
Are you just describing Rider in a nutshell?
No, never. What are you talking about? That's not what Rider is. Rider is a professional show that everybody loves, and not a show aimed at kids to sell toys. No, certainly not that. Anyway, I was watching Kamen Rider Faiz, and I was trying to understand why do I feel the way that I feel. And it was kind of refreshing to watch an older show to understand what I felt at that moment and what I feel now. It gives you kind of perspective on things. So I kind of like Faiz now. That was the big revelation after rewatching the entire thing. I was like, you know what? For all of its faults and how badly it ends, by God, I love this show.
Even.
I know. I'm a monster, really. But anyway, that wasn't another time. There was another time in a show called Kamen Rider Gaim where the fandom kind of sucked a dick. And it was very annoying to just experience.
Do you mean like glorifying the show?
No, because there were posers coming into the fandom. There were a bunch of posers.
Yeah, no, they were already getting ready to watch it on HBO Max. Come on now, fam.
Exactly. They were watching it on HBO with their free subscription and talking about how great the Fruit guys were. And I was just like, what the fuck? You guys weren't watching this shit. I was here since I was born. I was watching this shit when Godzilla was on the screen. And you guys are just going like, oh, there's that Gen Irabuchi guy. He did Madoka.
Are you just saying you're pretty much the Toku boomer?
I guess. I don't know. I prefer to call myself the Toku original.
We're all old. That's the point.
So when that happened, I did another thing. I rewatched a show that I liked, and I was trying to remember why I liked that show. And that show was a little thing called Kamen Rider Kuga. Perhaps you've all heard of that show. No? You haven't? Well, what the fuck are you doing? Stop listening and watch Kuga. Come on now.
They might know about it because Kuga gained the shit out of him because of memes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I rewatched Kamen Rider Kuga, and that was a fun experience. To just sit back, relax, and see a show that I really, really enjoy, and remembering why I really, really enjoy it. If all else fails for Tokusatsu shows, there is always one thing I go back to, and that's my Godzilla movies. I have every single one of them, and rewatching that shit always brings a smile to my face, and brings me peace. Or I watch Seinfeld.
I thought you were about to say porn.
No. That's for later.
No, we haven't gotten to me yet.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
That is the truth within a lie, as my friend Galrock would say.
So what I'm trying to say is, how do I deal with weeklies that I'm not feeling? I watch stuff that I either feel mixed about or watch older things that I know I enjoy and remember that feeling of the good times, the good old days that they say. Yeah, I just say rewatch things that you like and remember that feeling. Just remember what Tokusatsu Gaga told you guys. Remember that feeling that brought you joy? Do that. That's how I do it, and you can do it too.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch figured out my plot to this episode.
Yeah, I figured you out, Wheels. Remember, I picked number 11 when you said pick the best out of 20. Come on now. I can read your mind. But yeah, there's also that, and also recommend watching it with people that you like, your friends. Not the fandom friends, but friends that you talk to and all that stuff. Just so that you have people that can watch it with you that aren't, I guess, I don't know how to put this nicely, Wheels, so edit it out. Retarded?
I was going to say that at least 47 times during my discussion.
If you watch it with someone with a fan, it's gotta be bloodshed.
But yeah, just, remember
I don't
that
expect
feeling
myself to
people.
go sit down with MMPR toys, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, that's who I was going to recommend for you, Wheels.
I thought we were gonna recommend for SoundOut.
China has no friends. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm just kind of a figment of your imagination. A construct made from a Green Lantern ring.
Get out of here, Beast Boy. It's your turn.
So, what do I do when Tokusatsu weeklies have me down and I just don't feel like watching anymore?
Record Mike and Mike in the morning.
That too. I watch Gundam. I
Well,
legitimately have watched more Gundam than I have Toku because I watch Gundam when I'm mad at Toku. And
Well,
that should say something.
But what if
That
the
should
Gundam?
really say something.
But what if the Gundam makes you mad also?
I could watch Gundam Age and G-Reco and Double Zeta pretty much nonstop, and it'd still honestly give me more enjoyment and happiness than trying to sit through Nin Ninja or Geo a second time or something like that. There's shows from Toku that made me so mad I don't want to watch them anymore, but with Gundam I'll power through it.
Wait, so we could talk about other things? Man, I could bring up porn now, and
That's what
anime, and manga,
Staying
Dragon
on topic.
Ball,
Well,
and,
let's not. Did you say that?
and JoJo.
But legitimately speaking, when I get tired of weekly Toku, I used to do the thing of, Mucha, where I go watch a show again that's an older show. Sometimes it's when I'm watching Kamen Rider nowadays, and it's toy. I'm like, hold up, I'm gonna go grab my V3 DVD and start watching that. Or it's when Sentai makes me mad, I'll try to go watch older Sentai. But I found for me, the best thing that I've found is that I'll go watch Gundam stuff. Or I'll even watch Garo, because going back and watching Garo, kind of because Garo is Toku, so it gives me that Toku feeling, but it's so different from the Rider Sentai Ultraman consistent weekly stuff. Garo gives me a different feeling, so it's kind of fun to watch it for that. So that I'm kind of getting that Tokusatsu jive while also just kind of getting a different experience. And it's kind of something that I go through with, which has been Toku in general. It's been a very long time, I think, since Gaiman Tokuger, where there's been a writer and a Sentai at the same time that I really like. I've really loved Zyuohger, Q-Ranger, and Lupinranger vs. Patranger, and I didn't watch Ghost because I hated the first episode. I watched X8 and Build and enjoyed them, but wasn't super in love with them. And now I'm super in love with 01, but I'm 7 weeks behind on Ryu Soldier. But then I'm also loving Taiga, so it kind of balances out there. But the secret technique I have when I have Tokusatsu Burnout is I watch Gundam, or I'll binge 80s cartoons. Actually, I kind of binge 80 cartoons regardless of that. I get really tired of modern shows sometimes, and I'm just gonna go watch G.I. Joe. I'll just be in the corner watching G.I. Joe. Y'all can talk to me later. that's basically how I just kind of deal with Toku burnout and kind of general TV burnout too. Weekly stuff
And
kind
The
of burns me out. I like to binge
Simpsons,
things more.
Drama,
That's
and playing Uno, going on DeviantArt, sleeping. Oh, I'm still listing my things, sorry.
that explains why your channel has so many hiatus sound then. It's
This is
that-
true. Because my channel's so Tokusatsu focused that it's like when I feel burned out on Tokusatsu, I'm like, well, no videos for a while. Yeah, it's kind of how it is. And it's just something I think it's always like a consistent thing is like, I deeply love Tokusatsu, but the formulaic nature of, I think, Toei's series in particular, because I feel like I can watch Ultraman a lot easier too. And I enjoy stuff like the Power Rangers Boom comics and the board game and the video game stuff. It's like, that's all Toku, but it's not like watching Toku, kind of experiencing it in a different way. So it's kind of like Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid gives me that Tokusatsu feeling without having to watch someone else's scripted story and not having to agree with it because I'm technically running the game and I'm like, this can be whatever story I want it to be. And that's kind of a liberating feeling. So it's like, I don't have to worry about the Blue Ranger being underdeveloped because I'm playing as the Blue Ranger and I'm a well-rounded person who's had life experience. So, it kind of takes that edge out of it, which I think is also kind of why I enjoyed binge watching Hyperforce during Super Ninja Steel, because it was like, look, characters and story without the action, and that was kind of nice too.
Why are you just plugging Heroes of Grid Showcase on here?
Shh. You're not supposed to know the secret plan. Don't blurt out the secret plan. The other thing I was going to say is that in relation to Tokusatsu Burnout, not only with television series, but also the toys. Because there's been periods of time where it's like, oh man, I'm on like the writer kick where I'm like, I bought like every Astro Switch and the whole rack to put it in and was like, yeah, this is great. And then Wizard Rings came around and I was like burning through it. And then like halfway through, I just kind of tripped and was like, oops, I got tired.
Oh no, I went bankrupt.
It's like, oh no, I really don't want to put my money towards this anymore. And I really don't care that much. Then I just ignored it completely for a few years. Now I'm like, oh, now I want a Shot Riser and a 01 driver. Meanwhile, I'm like still trying to collect Sentai Mecha while it's on sale, but then it took me a year to finish Lupat stuff. So I think like Tokusatsu Burnout does kind of take other forms too of not just main television weekly stuff, but can also be applied to toys and having to watch bad Metal Hero shows for Ninja Talks.
Alright, I'm gonna take over.
Take over. Run away with the topic. Bye.
Yeah, alright. So, with the thing of Burnout, like Sound stated, I did a similar thing. It was around the time of Ghost Sager, where I started really hitting Burnout with both Rider and Sentai, where I couldn't watch them concurrently. One of the things that really affected me enjoying the shows, a lot of people are gonna be like kind of pissed at me, but is when they actually took that weird seasonal change up where they have it that Rider now starts against Sentai's later half, so you might end up having like a really bad Sentai ending, and you might lead off with a really good Rider start, but then that shit might change when it goes to the later half of Rider into your new Sentai, and I didn't really like that. So if it was like one of those shows where you get dropped off, dropped out, drop in, it was like a really bad vicious cycle, like it was like a zigzag. You would go Sentai Rider, Sentai Rider, Sentai Rider, Sentai Rider, Sentai Rider, and it wasn't staying stable. It wasn't staying concurrent, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't concurrent and consistent. It was just, you went from, what was it, Shinkenger to Double, Double to Goseiger, Goseiger to O's, and then O's into Gokaiger. So it was like really annoying. Like I was losing my effing mind when they started doing that. Which I get for a marketing perspective, it does work for their sales in some regards, but I just never entirely liked it. I would have liked it more if, like me and Soundout said in an earlier episode, if Sentai and Rider started shooting shorter seasons. So it was like first half of the year you have Sentai, last half of the year you have Rider, and they're not running like alongside each other, but they're running in each other's time slots. I thought was actually like a cool idea that me and Soundout once proposed, but we know they're never gonna actually go through with it per se.
I still like our idea of Sentai Rider Ultraman cycle in a...
I was gonna say they can't actually do that because of Ultraman being a different company, you know?
I was about to say is like the cycle of toys being like each of them started a different period of time for Bandai's sake, but like Sentai's for half a year and Riders for half a year, I think would make both shows stronger.
I feel like it would work a little bit better because Soundout says like one of the things is the toys can get overwhelming when you're watching the show, but it's also like kind of the overhaul that they've done for the Heisei Phase 2, I feel like, for older fans. Like a lot of the new people are joining in for the very shonen-esque levels of like Gaim XA Drive, like all of those shows. That's good that there is new fans coming in, but for us older fans, it does feel like we're being weeded out because it's like that seasonal thing of keeping to that audience of making sure the revenue in Japan keeps going for the shows themselves. But then there's Ultraman going, oh yeah, we're open to making new fans, but we also have a lot in there for the older fans that tune in, that are still children at heart, that love what we do. So it's like, I wish there was more cherishing and love for Sentai and Rider at Toei than it seems over at Tsuburaya, where they're like, nah, we do it for everyone. It doesn't matter how old you are, Ultraman is for everyone. So that's what I feel like. But what I would normally do is during that time of post Shinkenger to now, was that like, I would have to go back, like Sound said, when Sentai was on, I'd go back and binge. Not just binge a show in the same time that this show was airing. I would binge like 3 or 4. Like I went back so many times and I was like watching, I think, Die Ranger. I'd watched Jetman. I watched whatever I had still saved or had archived before the giant YouTube takedown. It was Jetman. It was like Die Ranger. It was Bowkenger. I went and watched those. I went and I did watch other Kamen Riders I hadn't finished at the time. Like, I think when we got somewhere into O's, I never went back fully and, like, completed the cleaner scrubs of, like, the Agito at the time. Like, we had, like, a slight scrub of Agito, so I went back and rewatched Agito. I went back and watched Deno during the end of Double into O's. I did, like, a lot of stuff. I tried to do that. But then there were just times where I couldn't watch Tokusatsu outside of, say, Ultraman or Godzilla. And this is the thing, like, I do know I'm more of the old school kaiju genre, Ultraman genre, but I still also like Sentai because I'd watch Power Rangers or I'd watch good Sentais that I've also liked in the past. But it seemed like Rider was like that weird tipping point where it'd be like the catalyst that would just be like the snowball turning into like the giant landslide, where then I might not want to watch the Sentai either. So it was like one of those things of, if Toei's flagship show kind of sucked, and then the one that was their B show, which was the one I've always liked that I saw as the A show, would suck, it made it a whole lot harder. So I tend to end up going to watch like stuff like old vintage wrestling, like whether it's like now thankfully due to the WWE network, stuff I've never seen, like old WCW, old WWE, New Japan I got, so I go watch old vintage Wrestle Kingdoms, and before it was called Wrestle Kingdom, etc., when it was just called the January 4th show. Just stuff like that. I would go and start watching a lot of like stuff that I've never seen before. Like, if it wasn't for these slight burnouts on Tokusatsu, I wouldn't have the drive to try to finally finish watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine in its entirety, because as a kid, I didn't see it consistently. So it was a way to play a game of catch-up, I always think. I think when you're burned out, either watch what you love, watch what brought you to the table, or just go and try to finish stuff. Because for me, I think one of the other things I was able to finish in that time was, I want to say, Transformers Zone, and I did not like that. Hell, I went back and watched Beast Machines a couple of times, and I have a new respect for Beast Machines. Like, there's a whole lot of respect. I could do an entire podcast on Beast Machines. So, as you can see, Burnout, it can hit anywhere, anyhow, any place, and so you gotta build and restructure. Anyways, I want to start wrapping us up. I don't want to do a normal outro where everyone just does their plugs. I'm just going to run it down for everyone. You got, first off, our guest, Ryan Darklaw643. You can find him on Twitter. He does take commissions and that. He does do our graphic design, so you can hit him up there. You can see him here. You can see him on Ninja Talks. You can see him doing work all over the place. You can see SoundOut12 at SoundOut12 on YouTube, Twitter. He has an Instagram and Facebook, a little bit less active there, but you can see him there. You got Janitor Joker on Twitter. You got Visible Ninja on YouTube. You got Visible Ninja on Twitter at Visible Ninja Zero. You also can see him as a part of the Geek Fighters every Saturday with our friends Fighter Cows, 16-Bit Jeff, Double RPG, and so on and so forth. You can follow them at the Geek Fighters. You also have the other podcast that I do with Jerry called Dragon Ball Show Me the Work. It's a monthly Dragon Ball podcast where we talk about fan theories and whatnot, and occasional reviews or just discussions on the current ongoing super manga. Whereas I am Wheelchair21. You can always find me at Wheelchair21 at Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Instagram is Taja_Doyle. And with Hero Club, you can always find us at Hero Club for Life across social media with hero-club.com as our basic HTML. We'll see you next time with episode 95.
Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.